This is Linda Wise. I am opening the meeting of the Greater Eureka Chamber of Commerce Business and Industry Committee meeting at, what time is it? Whatever, 12:02 p.m. on the 14th of June. Today, I think that Susan might be able to take the attendance via Zoom, but today we have in attendance Miles Slattery, who's going to be presenting some updates on what's going to be happening in the City of Eureka and some of the projects. And the meeting's going to be recorded for the benefit of our membership who can see the meeting at their convenience. And it's one of the things that we've been talking about for quite a while, is trying to aid the city and trying to get some of the information and participation, to our membership, so that we can help facilitate them with some of the information that they want to get out to our business community. So thank you, Miles, for coming. You want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Linda. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My email from Matthew was basically to provide updates on developments that are going on, and more specifically to some of the housing developments that are being proposed by the City of Eureka. But I thought I'd just give an overall update on what's happening this summer, because it's going to be an extremely busy summer. Right now we have a lot of new projects that are going on in the city. England Marine is relocating their facility from below the building at the foot of Commercial by Pack Choice to across the street from the Wharfinger at the corner of Marina Way and Waterfront Drive. That project there is proposed, is going to be, the foundation is in and they're starting to build it. It is a 15,000 square foot retail facility for England Marine. It's approximately a $5.8 million project that's going in there, and it should be done by the end of the summer. Another project that's going on that's pretty significant is Danco is building 36 units of senior housing located at 7th and Myrtle. There'll be 36 senior residential units there, and that project there is approximately $9 million. Another development that's going on currently and just got permitted and should start constructing soon, it's already been demoed, is the project on 2nd and E Street across from Los Bagels. That's Will Adams' project. It is going to be a first floor consisting of his new office space and a little bit of retail, 2 stories of residential units, creating 13 residential units, and a 4th story that'll be a restaurant rooftop bar. That project there is coming in at about $3.4 million. Another project that's currently going on right now is Food for People's remodel. That's on 14th and California Union, one of the two. I forget the exact area, but that project is a $5.5 million project that's going on currently. Another project that's just starting is the hotel project at the old Chamber property site on Hawthorne and Broadway. It is many millions of dollars that it's going to cost, but that is going to be a new home to suites hotel that will consist of 85 beds for hotel use. That's going to be a much longer project to construct, but it should start sometime this summer. They've already done the abatement for the asbestos inside the old building, and it should be getting demoed soon. Next, as far as proposed projects, that there's a small possibility that could start sometime this year, but likely next year, is the Link Property Scattered Site project. That was the first RFP that we put out as a part of our housing element. It includes the properties at parking lots at 8th and G, Sunny and Myrtle, and 6th and M. They recently came in with a redesign of that project because of the associated costs. They lowered the height of those projects to 3 stories at each of the locations that used to be 4 stories. They changed the mix of units. Before, it was initially proposed to be 2 and 3 bedroom units, and now there's a lot of single bedroom units so that we can get the number of units we need to comply with our housing element. They lowered the overall number of units from 104 to 90. That just went in front of our design review committee for that update, and it was unanimously approved today. They're going after multifamily housing funding. It's a deferred loan payment from HCD, the State Housing Community Development Department. And they should know about that sometime soon here. They apply this week, and then I think they can hear back within the next couple of months. That project there, just with the new estimates coming back, it'll be all told for all 3 sites will be $45 million invested into the city. The other project that Matthew wanted me to talk about is the Earth Center, which is located behind Lost Coast Brewery, the 2 parking lots at 3rd and G and H. That project will consist of a total of 31 units. 15 of those units will be 4-bedroom apartments for student housing. 12 of those units will be workforce housing, and 4 of those units will be for nurses and doctors, likely with open door health clinic. This is very much in the early stages. We have a draft pre-development agreement that's been circulating amongst the people that are involved in this, which would be Servitas, the development company, HSU, and the city. We're going back and forth on that right now to try and finalize it. A big component of that development is a grant that Humboldt Transit Authority went after. They should hear back about that grant next week, hopefully. It could be delayed, but once we find out that if that grant was awarded or not, then this should start being fast-tracked in the pre-development agreement agreed upon. And then construction would likely start sometime next year. That project there, the most recent estimates are about a little over 23 million. Which is just solely construction costs for that project there. It will also include not only the residential units, but it'll have a multimodal transit center that Humboldt Transit Authority will operate. And then on the bottom floor of the other building, it will be a daycare center and some retail or office space at the bottom. It's still yet to be determined. That project could get larger and more dense. When we took it to council, they requested that there was more density in that area. And so if the numbers pencil out, we may add additional units if we can get to an agreement with some of the partners and if they express interest in getting more housing units. As far as development, that's pretty much what's happening this year and next year. I'd say in the 16 years I've been here, it's easily the most investment that we've had in the city from a private standpoint that I've had since I've been at the city, that's for sure. It's also got a lot of pending projects that are coming up. We just updated our housing element to account for the transfer of properties that the city made with Pearson property and eventually with Redwood Capital Bank. That is still in escrow and it should be finalized soon. We just submitted our updated housing element to the state. We're waiting to hear back from them. After that 30 days is up, we will likely go out either to sole source a project to an interested party to develop housing at the Pearson site, the old Sunset Loft site, or to go out to an RFP. We are going to be discussing that with council coming up here soon. Just from the city standpoint, as far as development, we just awarded a $3.5 million repaving project, road maintenance project. It'll start, I believe, this week. We have a contractor under contract and we are going to start doing that work this year. Based on our projections and our audited numbers that we've gotten back from a financial standpoint, our estimates have been very conservative over the last couple of fiscal years, and we've come pretty well ahead of what our projections were. So we've had a surplus this last year in our general fund. We are using that to shore up, well, to ensure that we have the money for roads and for public safety. And so we have all those positions allocated, and we've set aside the money for this year, fiscal year, for that. And then we've used it also to help out with our reserves. The next fiscal year, we're pretty conservative on that, but that's the last quarter just came in from our consultants, and it looks like we're a little conservative, and we're a little bit above what we had projected. Based on the economy and what's going on, I don't see that continuing, but we're in a good spot because of what's happened previously and the way that we've managed our budget in the last few years. We've a lot better position than we've been in over the 16 years that I've worked here. As far as business and visitorship, I think that our marketing firm and our agreement with them has really demonstrated to prove beneficial to the city. We had a record year of TOT tax these past 2 years. Our previous high was at about 2.9 million in transient occupancy tax. This year, we are definitely going to hit the 3.5 million mark, which demonstrates that a lot of people are coming here. And from that standpoint, the city is doing well in attracting people to come and stay here. A lot of that has to do with the marketing, but also with the Redwood Skywalk. That's also been a major attraction and brought a lot of people from out of the area to Eureka. Other than that, if there's any questions or you want me to expand or talk about something totally different, I'm definitely available if anybody has any questions. I wasn't sure exactly what specifics they wanted to talk about, but if anybody wants to clarify, I'm more than willing to take any questions or expand upon what I've already presented.
Miles, I'm really curious about the waterfront planning process that's happening right now. I've been seeing some surveys go out, and I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about the timeline for that and what it might look like when it's
okay,
done.
So yeah, we just had a meeting last Thursday. I forget, I was at it and I can't remember, but we just recently had a meeting with certain additional surveys to talk about it. I think that was the third public meeting that's happened related to that. It's not done yet. We have a list of stakeholders. There's going to be, including Chamber being one of them, where they're going to be having hybrid meetings to go over the surveys and what they intend on incorporating into the Eureka Waterfront Plan. I think there's 6 stakeholder groups that they're going to go out to. So that'll be happening over the next month or two. And they'll reach out to the Chamber to try and set something up to have a meeting to discuss the contents of the plan. And then there will be, after that, it'll go to the Planning Commission, and then it'll go to the Eureka City Council. Right now, it breaks down the waterfront area into different areas, and based on the survey and the results of those surveys, they've decided what type of uses they wanted to see concentrated on in those areas. It was, the draft of that was presented at the last meeting, and it'll be more fine-tuned as it goes through the stakeholder groups and the Planning Commission, and then eventually to council. So I would guesstimate that adoption of it would likely happen end of summerish, maybe September, based on that time frame. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about related to that?
So maybe I'm wrong, but what my perception has been, to a certain extent, that a lot of that waterfront wasn't developed because of coastal commission concerns or some restrictions around building close to the water. Is there any change there, or how is it possible now if maybe in the past we couldn't build in some of those areas?
So I think that's a lot of, to be honest with you, it's been a lot of fear and a lot of misinformation. We have zoning regulations, and if you comply with those zoning regulations, you're allowed to develop the waterfront. I think we've shown that recently and been able to do projects that are in the coastal zone. The coastal zone is basically Broadway to the west and 3rd Street to the north. So the projects that I spoke of, England Marine, Will's project, that's all in the coastal zone. The reason for this waterfront and this specific plan is once you get this forward and you have this adopted, it will help the permitting process, and those people interested in developing, it will streamline that process. So it will have somewhat of a pre-permitting. It will have CEQA covered, which is the California Environmental Quality Act, that ensures that those things are covered, and it'll already be, I don't know for sure if it'll be exempt, but it'll make that CEQA process a lot easier for people to do development. It won't exempt them from a coastal development permit, but all of this planning goes and takes into account the zoning at these locations where the different uses are being proposed. So as long as it complies with those uses, then it can happen. I think one of the areas that a lot of people have concerns about, as well as myself and our staff, is coastal dependent industrial zone properties. So there's properties that are zoned coastal dependent industrial. It's a very restrictive zoning, and it is something that we're trying to update in our local coastal program. We have what's called an LCP that's been with the Coastal Commission to try and make those requirements to comply with coastal dependent industrial zone less stringent, and so allow for other uses like industrial uses and other things like that. So we have a draft proposal into the Coastal Commission, and they've had it since November of last year. So it's been a little bit frustrating trying to get that pushed through, but if successful, that will really help with those areas that are zoned coastal dependent industrial. We've had a lot of areas that are zoned that way that actually couldn't comply with that zoning because they don't have access to water. We're proposing to rezone those to other types of zones, to other types of uses. And then we have the problem of, finding people, because coastal dependent industrial requires that you have to rely upon the water. In other words, you have to rely on shipping. And we've had a lot of proposals come in. We've had a pretty well-known brewery wanting to come to town and would have been perfect for one of these locations, but because of the zoning, it didn't work. So those are things that we're trying to change, and we are being a lot more creative. One thing that is coming up, we have an interested mill, the sustainable mill, that is very interested in the old Simpson property, and we're trying to work them through that process to get them into that property. And then we also have another fence board manufacturer that's very interested in the Brainerd property. Both of those uses would be compliant with the zoning in those areas. So Coastal Commission, other than sea level rise, won't have an issue, but there's ways to work around sea level rise issues. If you have a business plan that you can demonstrate pencils out prior to sea level rise affecting that property, then you can have a retreat method that comes into play. And so we're trying to work with people that are interested in industry and development so that they can basically pose the project in a way that we can avoid some of the issues we've had in the past with the Coastal Commission.
So Miles, recently there was I think it was a development tax increase that was approved that would be associated with the city schools.
Yes.
Is that something that is throwing any wrench into the plans for you? Are you expecting any things to go differently because of that, or
So,
anything?
yeah, it's significant. From a commercial standpoint, it's not too onerous. It's 78 cents a square foot. So that's, while unfortunate, it's manageable. It's the residential part, is $4.79 a square foot, which is something that was required by the state for the schools to be eligible for certain funding. That did get approved. It is in place. I believe there's another 30 days before it actually goes into place. So we have a lot of people coming in and getting building permits before that gets into place, and we're trying to process those as rapidly as possible. We did get confirmation through our meetings with the Eureka City Schools and their board that they do have the ability to revisit that if it does become an issue, because we made it very clear that we are in a housing crisis and this will have significant impact on our ability to develop housing. And they made it clear that they have the ability to go back and rescind this. Am I naive enough to think that they will do that? Likely not. But that's what they said when they adopted this. So, I mean, from the standpoint of the housing element and doing affordable housing, I think it'll have an impact as far as raising. So put it this way, if the link project with the scattered site, they're going to get their permit in for their building permit with the plot plan prior to this going into effect. If it was in effect, it would raise the cost of that project about $850,000. In the grand scheme of a, $40 million project, it's still significant, but not, I wouldn't say significant. It can be impactful. I would say that it's going to impact single family residences much more than the projects that we're talking about for multifamily, but it is significant. And like I said, if it shows that it's being a deterrent, I think there'll be a lot of lobbying to the school board to reconsider it. Two other school districts, McKinleyville and Fortuna, have development fees. Eureka never has, and right now Eureka has passed it. Freshwater is considering it, and Cutton's considering it as well. They're nowhere near the low levels that Cutton and Fortuna. I think residential in McKinleyville is about the same as the commercial here. And because of this grant that's being offered by the state, they couldn't fluctuate that amount. They had to have it that high. So unfortunate, and it's yet to be seen as to whether or not that's going to really affect, I don't think it will affect commercial development to a great extent, but it definitely has the potential to affect residential.
Anyone else have questions?
Just one other, that was not under the control of the city at all. It was solely a decision that could be made by the school board.
Pretty remarkable how much power they have to impact the city. Didn't realize that.
Yeah, we didn't have any say. It didn't need to go to a vote. Solely can be done by a school board.
Miles, is there anything upcoming that the chamber can assist the city with public participation or engagement?
Yeah, we'll be reaching out about the waterfront plan. I think that's going to be a good vehicle to help spur development in that area to streamline the permitting process. So I think that's something that we could definitely use some support on. Anything that we can do for the recruitment of police officers is welcome. We've been working. We're just starting a new program with our marketing firm to reach out to other areas and try and attract. We're doing better than before. We were down about 11 sworn officers, which is a high percentage of our force. We just got 3 through the academy, and we're working on a couple of laterals. So while it's getting better, we're having a hard time recruiting, as I'm sure all you folks are as well. I mean, we've gone through a year and a half of trying to hire maintenance workers in our parks, and we've been through 6 different employees, and it's really affecting our ability to do maintenance and stuff. So we could use help with any sort of referrals for jobs. And when we start working on this program, with our marketing firm, we'd love some assistance in trying to recruit officers here. You know, we're going to be having more meetings related to housing, and obviously we've got a lot of concerns about parking and ways that we can address that. So anything that we can do when we go through these public processes to look at developing these houses, these properties, you know, we'll be leaning on the chamber to help get that information out. I think that the first site, once our housing element gets adopted, will be the Pearson's old property out by Fairfield. What else? We are doing the 4th of July, so that'll be a big thing. And then, God, I don't know if I can say this, but Sarah Bareilles is going to be coming here in October, and there's going to be a big concert that we're going to be managing in October. So I think that'll be really good for our area. We look forward to hosting the Chamber Golf Tournament when you guys figure out a new date. The golf course is in great condition. I don't know if anybody here golfs, but if you do, make sure you get out to the Muni. It's in the best condition it's been on in its whole life. So I think it'll be a very successful event this year for the Chamber.
Yes, we were surprised to see that it had been booked at the same time as another event, and we're working on a new date. We have a meeting this Friday.
Sweet. Other projects? You know, we want to get out as much information related to, you know, this has been an issue ever since I've been here, but weeds, we're looking at a program for weeds and gutters and trying to not make it an enforcement-based program, but more so, hey, keep the community looking nice type of thing, because it is property owners' responsibilities to take care of it. So we're working on a program to get that out. We could probably use the Chamber's help in that. And then we're also looking, because the 4th of July is coming, and some social media stuff to talk about the impacts of illegal fireworks on, you know, pets and vets and those type of things, to try and minimize the issues that we have every year.
I see those as some topics that we could probably, Susan, probably take up on some of our newsletter, you know, topics, you know, like that. And also some things that we can take back for when we convene again with once we get a new CEO, that, you know, we'll be able to kind of add into our strategic plan. One of the things that we came out of the last time was to come up with some things, some directions, you know, for the CEOs, so that, you know, decisions could be made easily and, you know, in a shorter time period, you know, so that, you know, we'd be able to do support of a certain program. So I see some of this, you know, some things we can take back to the board and see where we can add those things to their duties.
You know, we did, I forget who, but somebody from the chamber reached out about our budget process. We'd be more than willing to come and do a presentation similar like we do with our finance advisory committee, to talk about, you know, where our budget's at, how Measure 8 funds are being spent. We'd really like to do that, because it always amazes me that some of the topics that come to our council and they spend so much time on, but here we are talking about the bottom line and we don't get much input. And so we'd love to come and present annually with our budget, to have a discussion about that, and maybe even during mid-year too, when we go over a mid-year review.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Is there a good time of year that's best for that, so that we can get information and give you feedback you might want?
Yeah, typically, you know, we'll be April, May, is a good time. We typically try and take it to the first meeting in June. And so we get all of our departments to submit their requests by Aprilish. And then during the month of May is when we kind of bring it down to what we're going to be proposing to council. So Mayish would be great, mid-May.
Great.
Come on, you guys got to have more than that. I don't get, you can't yell at me. You can't tell me you're an idiot. Come on, somebody's got to say something.
Well, there's all sorts of fun little things happening. I want to know how the scooter thing is going.
So I just did an interview on the news tonight. We've had good and bad. I would say the overall is definitely good. You know, we've had 25 units that are out right now. We're going to get another 25 coming in. I know that a lot of our staff, I use them to go to lunch, you know, in town. There's been concerns about their use and being on sidewalks. And so we're getting out information related to that. Some of the concerns are mainly leaving them in areas that aren't appropriate. And so we advertise the number and the email address that can be reached out to have the contractor, the local contractor, take care of them. There's a misnomer that they're somehow different than bicycles. The rules that regulate scooters are no different than bicycles. People should ride them just like they do a bike. If you're under 16, you should wear a helmet. If you're over 16, you don't need to wear a helmet. It's been good, but we've definitely had some concerns related to it. It's very clear this is just a year trial period. So we'll be doing this with a year and weighing the pros and cons and making a decision as to whether or not we want to move forward. But so far, overall, it's been positive, outweighing the negative.
From what I understand, they'll give you, there's a place to get a free helmet, right?
Yeah.
That's Pam was telling me that the other day because I was saying I'm too much of a klutz. You know, I'd probably crack my head open if I didn't have one, you know, and ruin the 3 brain cells I have.
I won't bring up my story of Sacramento and what I did on one of them, but yes, helmets are advisable for sure. And they are available at the visitor center.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed the other day that, you know, you had a really nice presence out at Arts Alive and people really assessing, you know, whether, you know, what the barriers are like down there in Old Town and how they're doing down there. And so, you know, I appreciated the thoughtfulness. And so did a lot of people down in our area. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. And that's been, I should have brought that up to talk about too. That's been a concern for Main Street. That's for sure. We've had lots of meetings discussing the road closures and reasoning behind it and trying to mitigate some of the concerns that they do have down there. From a participant standpoint, it's been very, very well received. Business standpoint, it's been some yes, some no, but you know, we're working on getting some bollards so that we don't have to spend so much time moving around those K-rails. But once we get those in place, I think it'll be a lot better. We've offered it up to Henderson Center merchants. They really love it. They're very happy to do road closures. That's pretty much across the board. The businesses really appreciate the road closures. Main Street, not so much. And so we are working with Main Street and trying to mitigate some of their concerns. We've changed the timing as to when we do the road closures. We've put up more signage. When Friday markets come, we're going to have permanent signage for Friday night markets. So it's a work in progress, but I think from attraction and getting people to the area, the last free Arts Alive that I've been to, except for the last one, which was raining, but the ones prior to that were very well attended.
And this Thursday night, you know, with the music series, that, you know, it's a nice downtown attraction. Hey, Miles, you know, we're having our chamber mixer at the same place we did the annual dinner this Thursday. If you want to come down and have
Oh, sweet.
yourself a slider and a cocktail
You know,
and
I'm
hear some
in.
music. It's
I
so
will, I will
perfect
be
place.
there. I will
Yeah.
be there.
So yeah. So it's good.
Sweet. Anybody else have any other questions? And I'll just get my cell phone number is 599-2053. I would encourage anybody to call me, and hopefully those that are watching this recording take that down. It's 707-599-2053. Any concerns? I'm usually pretty prompt in answering, and I will definitely answer and willing to listen to any concerns and try and address them.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
I just wanted to say that I too am excited about all the things that are happening and all the development. I think it's good stuff, and it's fun to be here watching it all happen. So good job.
No, it is. It's, you know, I think it's great. I mean, and seeing the private investment is huge. England Marine, and that's another thing. If anybody's interested in England Marine's old site, I'd love to hear from them. The city's notorious for giving pretty good deals, but anyway, we're interested in that. And then also, I forgot to mention, we are going to be renovating the old Coast Guard building, which is kind of by Coast Seafood there. That's going to be a new substation for the cops. And so our CSET team will have an Old Town presence. Oh, and this was probably even more important, and I apologize, but we're working with the county on Mercer Frazier's property at Third and Commercial. I think it's really exciting, and I'm hoping that we get concurrence from all of the businesses in the area. We're going to be putting together a navigation center there, which will be kind of a day center for community members experiencing homelessness. So they have a place to go. It'll include kennels, it'll include storage, it'll include bike storage. It will have a navigation center with all the resources that folks need to help get them back on their feet. There'll be offices for DHHS there. And there will be, I believe, 12 units of transitional housing there for folks. I think it'll be a good location. One of the areas will be completely open and covered for folks to be at. And this, in conjunction of moving EPD down to that area, I think will make a big difference there around free meal there. And we'll be able to take down all that fencing and hopefully provide more spaces for folks to go so they're not in other spaces, and give them the resources they need to get better. So that'll be going out to a public process. I think we're shooting for August for that, but hopefully we can do it sooner. We're trying to do some meetings and hold meetings here at City Hall. We're going to notice within 500 feet of the area and make announcements as it relates to this. But this is the one thing that I've heard in the 16 years that I've been here is we need to find a place for folks to go. And I think this is that solution. It may not be big enough, but I think that it's a great step in the right direction.
How many people can utilize the facility during the day?
So it'll be for adults only. It's very similar. If you look up, I think it's Freedom Park in Sacramento, the company, the consultant that the county DHHS hired runs a program there called Loaves and Fishes. That same company is going to be up here. It's a local person that was born and raised here that used to work for Loaves and Fishes as a part of this consulting firm, and they're going to be the ones operating it. Capacity wise, I mean, it's a half an acre and it's outdoors. I mean, I have to assume it could hold up to 200 if necessary in the outdoor space there. Maybe it's a third of an acre, but either way, it's, you know, that outdoor space won't be capacity driven. There'll be 6 showers for folks. There'll be restrooms. You know, it's going to be, in my opinion, a game changer for that area and for the city of Eureka as far as being able to provide services, and it'll give us the ability to, it's just another resource to be able to take folks to so that they can try and get better.
All right, I'm not hearing any more questions, so, Linda, are you still?
Yeah,
with
I'm
us?
still
Shall
here.
we wrap?
Yeah.
Any other questions for you,
I'm
Linda?
sorry. I signed up for a minute, take a bite of something. I didn't want to be lunchtime. Yeah, I appreciate you coming, Miles, and thank you so much for the information. And I think that this is going to be really useful to share with the membership. I don't know if, it's for the rest of the Business and Industry Committee, if there's anything that we want to take for new business for the next meeting. Without Matthew here, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I do know that he does want to, he would like to have the ocean energy folks come and talk to us a little bit at one of the meetings that's coming up in the near future. Probably be another Zoom meeting, because the fella that came to talk to us the other day is a San Francisco company, RWE, that we met the other day. And so beyond that, I think if anybody else has anything to say on the committee, Michael, Dane, okay. Then I'll close today's meeting, the Business and Industry Committee meeting at 12:43. Thank you very much, Miles, for coming today.
Thank you
Thanks.
guys for having me. Just let me know if you ever want me to come back.